Welcome to Business Notes. I'm your host, Diane Bogino. My guest today is Tammy Spence. Tammy is an advisory board member for 2myPlace. 2myPlace is a nonprofit ending the exploitation and trafficking of children. For the past 9 years, Tammy has worked as a victim advocate with incarcerated women who have been trafficked in the greater Central Florida area and beyond. Tammy has extensive knowledge in this area and has often been called upon by local and state agencies to offer advice and assistance. Tammy's approach to this difficult work is unique. She would describe it as walking a journey. And now here's Tammy to bring us some important facts about this challenge to our society. Tammy, welcome to Business Notes, and thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Tammy, I want the audience to know what a dedicated person you are to this challenge that we're having in our society. You won a Delta Airlines Chairman's Club Award in 2015 for your work in this area, the Victim Service Center Community Advocate of the Year in 2018, and the Polaris Volunteer of the Year in 2019. So you are dedicated to this issue, and I appreciate your work.
I love talking about it, so thank you so much for offering this invitation. Thank you.
Tammy, tell me about your role as the transition team coordinator for Inside Out Jail Ministry and how you became involved in that.
Inside Out Jail Ministry is an organization that is a full circle for the inmates that we work with. The transition team coordinator works inside of jails. We offer programs, support, housing when we can get it, but most importantly, we offer grace and we look for long-term relationships to walk with the individuals as they walk through this journey. It's what we've learned we have to do, actually. It's not as cut and dry as we had initially thought. And I came to this in a kind of a little weird way. I had been doing some ministry work for Malawi. We had been going back and forth and building some schools, and they had hired a full-time employee, and I didn't really know what I was going to do. And there was a gentleman there, and he said, we're going to start this jail ministry and partner with Tammy Fisher. Would you be interested? And I said, oh, absolutely. And I walked out, and I was thinking, no, I don't want to do it. There are bad people in there. I can't do it. And 9 years later, it's the biggest blessing. I know I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I love the women that I work with. It's been a huge blessing. A huge blessing.
So, Tammy, what do you see as the greatest challenge to facing the women that you're working with?
The challenge that we're finding is to deal with their trauma that they experienced when they were younger. What we find is anywhere between 95 and 90% of the women have had a sexual trauma at an early age. Then the addiction starts. So we're not only dealing with the trauma at an early age, but then the secondary problem, which is addiction. And then all the pieces that come after that. So I find that a lack of understanding as well from the community of what's actually happening, why they're there, and what really is the issue are the two biggest, or maybe three biggest hurdles that we face.
People that are trafficked, are they snatched as young people, or is it from trauma? Or are they snatched as adults?
The majority of the United States think that every person that is in prostitution wants to be there, and that every person that's human trafficked has been kidnapped, and the percentage is 10%. In the United States, what we're finding is that our children are molested, and then there's a spiral effect that happens. We have a thing in our body, in our brain, the frontal lobe, and that's where you understand consequences. And when you are molested at an early age, the trauma, this doesn't actually develop. So when they're doing all these things and people are saying, why are you doing this? What were you thinking? Well, they weren't thinking because they don't understand. The other issue I think that's really important for society to understand, and I applaud you for your book and for you coming out with this, is that we have kept molestation like it's a bad thing. It's a bad thing to the victim, but when we don't speak about it, it's as if the person that it's happened to is part of the problem, and they have nothing to do with the problem. And if we really start speaking out on it and making it an issue that's as normal as all the other issues that society is talking about, I think we can make this issue maybe not affect as many children as it is. It's 1 in 3 women that were reporting and 1 in 4 boys, although they do think the boys are higher, but the men are higher, they just don't talk about it. So, and I do want to thank you for that, because we need more people in the community that they can see and say and talk to and understand. So thank you for that.
Tammy, you're one of the few organizations that continually work with victims at a crisis level, but what can we do in our local communities to, to prevent victimization?
The things that I'm noticing is that we have a lot of people that are rescuing, and I'm not a fan of that word. And starting from where we start and forward, what we don't have are organizations that are starting to prevent, to do preventative work, which is why I love 2myPlace, because they're about preventing the molestation and the abuse that happens at an early age. So I don't see the women that I see. I think we need to educate communities. We need to educate families, teachers, police. I think that's the perfect start, and the children as well, to be able to speak up, to not keep things a secret. I think we really have to focus on that area. The other area I'd love to focus on is the law. I'd like to stop re-victimizing victims. I'd like it not to be a crime to sell your body. I'd like it to be a crime to buy sex. And I'd also like to see harsher punishments for pedophiles or people that molest children. They're getting 2 and 3 years, and the women that are molested. And again, I work on the women's side, so I'm sorry that I keep saying women, but it's where my specialty is. On the women's side, that crime, that victimization that happened to these women, it's a lifelong. It's there for your life. It's a part of your journey. So I just think that we need to have deeper and stronger penalties for offenders.
People that molest children, is that a mental illness?
People think that they're born that way. It's a learned behavior, just like domestic violence. When people say, oh, they're angry, or oh, they don't know, or oh, they were born that way, then they wouldn't be hiding. They know that it's wrong. What we're finding is that people that molest have been molested, but they know the difference between right and wrong. So I do think that's a big misconception, and I'm so glad that you brought that up.
So Tammy, what's missing or standing in the way of preventing the exploitation and trafficking of young people? I know 2myPlace is doing a great deal of work, but I'd like to hear what you have to say, since you work with women after the fact.
Love for organizations to go into communities that are a little wealthier. I know that those communities feel like it's not happening in their community, it's happening in impoverished communities. And what we're finding when we say 1 in 3 is there's not a number attached to 1 in 3, a dollar sign. It's 1 in 3 women. The difference between those that have money and those that don't is that they can bond out of jail, they can hire better lawyers, and they can go to treatment programs when they need to. So what our role is obviously to find them programs for the group that finds themselves in jail. What we need is an organization and to teach and train communities, as well as teachers, law enforcement, as we said earlier, so that they really understand what human trafficking is about, sexual human trafficking, what it's about, what to look for. And they think it's not in their backyard. And I promise you, it's in their backyard. Girls are not wearing high-heeled shoes anymore. They're dressing just like everybody else. They just know when to be there and how everything operates. The other thing I'd like to really train on, or maybe we can speak on, is the internet. It is a wealth of knowledge for not just parents, but also pedophiles, for men that are looking to victimize children. And as much as we believe that we have a handle on our children, we do not. There are all kinds of ways on the internet to sneak things through. And children at a young age don't understand what we understand later. So I really want to push teaching before the trauma starts. We think that most molestations are with somebody that you know. So It could be your best friend's husband or your brother-in-law, and you think that everything's okay. It's really not. But children, what we're finding, children also, or as we know, they don't speak. They're afraid. If we have open dialogues and teach parents how to have open dialogues with children so that we can have them feel safe if something happens. And I do think it begins with adults as well. Just like you wrote the book, people are talking about their experiences that other people can look up to. And then if I know that you've had that issue and I've had that issue, I'll be more open to ask you about it. So we really need women to come forward. If it's 1 in 3, we know there's a lot of women out there to come forward and really use their voice to help other victims. And then we really need to push the education piece, education in school, like I said, school, police, the community leaders. If we could start in those areas, which is where I think we're really lacking, I think it could be a good start. I think that if we go into schools especially and teach teachers what to look for, how to handle it, maybe not always to go to the family, but really take classes on how to handle it. I think that would be a good start for us to really stop the violence that happens early so that, again, these children are not victimized and not able to have the tools that they need to move forward.
That's right. And it's not just a parent knowing it. A child might come to another family they trust and make a comment even
Exactly.
to that family's child or something. I mean, you see it get verbalized all kinds of ways, and people do take advantage of that trust. It's mind-blowing. Absolutely. With everything that you've seen, what would you say to today's children and parents?
I'd say to the children to speak up, to never be silent. When it doesn't feel right, say no and grab an adult. I would tell parents to learn as much as you can, to not think it's not in your community or it wouldn't happen in your house. Again, it's 1 in 3 of all of Americans. So if it's, everybody, then all communities need to be educated. I think that we need to also teach families, again, how to open up, to pay more attention to the areas that they're probably not understanding, and to get the education that they need so that they know what to look for.
Thank you for the work that you do. Is there anything you'd like to say before we sign off for today?
I wanted to thank you again for bringing this topic, allowing me to speak on it briefly. It's certainly a passion. These women are worthy to be loved. They are wonderful, wonderful, loving, caring women that are getting lost in the system. And the more we speak about it, and the more victims as yourself put their voice out there, the more people want to be educated. And I think the better off we'll be in the long run.
Yeah.
So thank you again for having me.
Well, thank you for being on the show today and bringing us this information. And also, we should give a big thank you to Cindee Sapoznik, who started 2myPlace. And again, let's direct people to her website for 2myPlace. And thank you for the work you do. And I hope you get some more awards. And I do want to mention that you also work for Delta Airlines. So you hold down a full-time job. You have been flying all week, as a matter of fact, and still found the time to do this. So again, I appreciate your dedication, Tammy.
Well, thank you. And I do like to give Delta a shout out. And Allison Osborne has been a big leader in that. So what a blessing to work for a company that has the same passion that I have and supports the areas that I support. So, and Cindee, I love Cindee. I love their organization. I love what they're doing. I think they're really a leader in the education piece, and I wish them all the best.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching Business Notes. We've been speaking with Tammy Spence, an advisory board member for 2myPlace. 2myPlace is a nonprofit focused on ending the exploitation and trafficking of children. I'm your host, Diane Bogino, bringing you business ideas you can bank on.